Or, I thought you were going to bring it up again. I expect. Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are going to start this meeting now. It's great to have everyone here. I hope everyone is enjoying March so far. Curtis is going to take roll call.
Aldana, Barber, Del Valle, Caldera, online, Hulls, absent, Kachuk,
Online.
online, Kim, absent, Lee, Minerby, Quadri, absent, Robati, Salas, Young.
I'm online here.
Online. Chair, you have 10 members present. Quorum has met.
All right, everyone. Let's hear from the Honolulu Fire Department. You guys are here, I hope. No fire department.
Send me an email.
All right, we are going to move down to HPD District 1.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Kind of District 1. Some stats, motor vehicle theft, we're down from 7 last month to 3 for the month prior and 3. Birds are down from 2 to 0. Thefts are up 1 from 6 to 7. Heartbreakings stayed the same at 4. Assaults went way down from 4 to 0. 6 assault arrests are still at 0. Graffiti arrests are at 0, but drug arrests are up from 51. All I have for our
Did
stats.
you read the beginning of your stats again? Because unfortunately it cut out. Just maybe the first 3 stats.
Motor vehicle thefts are down from 7 the month prior to 3. Burglaries are down from 2 to 0, and thefts in general are down 1 from 6 to 7.
Great. Thank you so much. Who on the board has any questions? All right, go ahead, Milton.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to know what can we do in order to maybe request a little bit more patrolling in the area of Algarrobo, because after 10 o'clock, seems like individuals started coming from other places and cars, and it seems really suspicious. If there is any way maybe that we can request that, maybe through one of you officers.
Area.
Sergeant, you are cutting out again.
Sorry, city computer. There any particular address for the general area of Alberta?
I cannot hear me. Yes, it's between between like 17:30 around that area.
I will reach out to our night watch sergeant right after this meeting, and I'll have them get with these guys to do something.
If I may interject, I think that part of Algarrobo is part of District 7. I'll have the officers
what I
make
wanna say.
checks.
Is there
But
any
if
way
you do see, if you do see something suspicious, to by all means, and call 911 to report it as well.
All right. Anyone else on the board have anything? Do you see any hands raised? All right. Do we have anyone in the community that has any questions? Or, yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Rich, can you turn up the audio a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. District 7?
Hi, good evening, Lieutenant Thompson for District 7. The stats for the month of February, there's 11 motor vehicle thefts, with 10 reported the previous month. 5 burglaries, with 7 reported the previous month. 12 thefts, down from 17 the previous month. Unauthorized entry into motor vehicles, there was 7, with 8 reported the previous month. Total calls for the service was 5,746. And I have a safety tip for the month. It's regarding pedestrian safety. Some of the things that they recommend is use marked crosswalks or cross at street corners. Look left, right, then left again for vehicle traffic before stepping onto the roadway. Continue to look for oncoming vehicles while crossing. Yield to approaching vehicles while crossing, even if you have the right of way. Make contact with drivers to ensure that they see you. Obey all traffic signals and use a pedestrian signal button at intersections. Cross the street only when the white walk or walking person light is on. Do not begin crossing if the red don't walk or upraised hand is flashing or steady. Be especially careful of vehicles that are turning intersections. Drivers may be looking out for other vehicles instead of pedestrians. If buses or other large vehicles are blocking your view, wait for them to pass before crossing. Do not walk behind a vehicle that has its red reverse lights on. Walk on the sidewalk. If there's no sidewalk, walk on the left side of the roadway so you can see the traffic approaching. And you can find other pedestrian safety tips at honolulupolice.org or honolulupd.org. That's all I have.
All right, anyone on the board with questions? Paul?
Yes, I'm interested to know the fields, the softball, baseball fields were by Longs on the corner right across the street from the old Eisenberg.
Yes.
Yeah, the question I have is, it's almost like we send in housekeeping every other month. It clears out the place, it looks pretty good. And then all of a sudden you look, now we get places, people are starting to move in. And I was wondering, how can we stop that?
Well, our SPOs, they have a schedule and they rotate with all the parks around the island. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of getting the SPOs back out there when it's our time to get them back out there. I can have our CPT and ATV details make checks. But when they do the clearing out, it's on a schedule with the city.
Okay, right, it just, people ask me about that.
Yeah.
Okey-doke.
Anyone else on the board? Okay, anyone online? Community members? Do you mind coming to the mic and saying your name?
Come on, get faster.
Aloha, my name is Susan. I'm the president of the Alawai Community Garden Association at the Alawai Park. And we wanted to personally thank HPD because my understanding is there has been some new program and you have been having officers come through our gardens much more frequently. And you have been having HPD come through even at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we have seen a decrease in the vandalism and we have seen a decrease in the homelessness. So I wanted to personally thank HPD and whoever got the funding for that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other community members? Anyone online? All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Have a good evening.
Board of Water Supply. Awesome. We back?
We can't hear you.
All right. I think you can resume now. Sorry, everyone, that we lost momentarily. We did not go ahead with the meeting. So go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. For Board of Water's monthly report, there are no main breaks to report last month. So I'll just move on to my general water announcement. The Board of Water Supply is hiring. Thirsty for a stable career? The Board of Water Supply is hiring. We have open positions in engineering, information technology, customer care, and administrative roles. Enjoy great benefits, job security, and the opportunity to grow and make a difference. It's time to turn the valve on a new career that matters. Apply today at www.boardofwatersupply.com/jobs or call 808-748-5160. That concludes the end of my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from the board or community? Yes, go ahead. Use the mic at,
There is a place for being cheesy.
I'm glad you appreciated the jokes. Okay, so thank you for this brief thing. And now we have a much longer presentation about the financials for Board of Water Supply.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Kaliko-Lum-Ki. He's our Deputy Waterworks Controller.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone. Kaliko-Lum-Ki, Assistant Waterworks Controller, Finance Division for Board of Water Supply. Good. Did you want to bring up the
Yeah. Do you mind,
Okay.
Curtis? Did we get them? Hold on.
If not, I have hard copies on the table for anybody that wants
Here we
to.
go.
Yep, that's it.
Thank
Perfect.
you for uploading them. Looks
Okay.
good.
Yep. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows the budget to actual for the period July 2024 to December 2024. Actual revenues were 165.3 million versus budgeted revenues of 155.5 million. Operating costs were 125.4 million versus budgeted costs of 135.8 million. And the actual net revenue of 39.9 million versus a budgeted net revenue of 19.7 million. Next slide, please. These are the main cost drivers for the year-to-date December 2024. Personnel, actual in millions, was 23.2 million. Budgeted in millions was 28.6. Materials, supplies, and services, actual 43.5 million versus a budget of 47 million. Equipment, 0.2 million versus a budget of 2.6. Debt service, 20.3 million versus the budget of 21. And lastly, utilities, 16.2 million versus the budget of 19.9. Next slide, please.
So these show our operating budget versus actual, again, for the year-to-date July through December 2024. We have budget expenditures of 135.8 million versus actual 125.4. So of the variance, 10.4 million. You can't really see it too well, but the upper left side is water resources, about 3.4 million over budget. Below that is field operations, 4.3 million under budget. And then the right side of that slide, we have water systems operations, 3.8 million under budget. Information technology, 2 million under budget. And lastly, capital projects, 1.9 million under budget. Next slide, please. So this is the pie chart that basically shows the different expenditures, again, for that same period. Out of the total of 125.4 million, our biggest is that bottom right piece of the pie. Material services and supplies, 43.5 million. Second largest is the top left, fixed charges, coming in at 38.2 million. And then that light purple on the top right, personnel, 23.2 million. And bottom left, debt service in that white shade is 20.3 million. Next slide, please. This is just a bar chart that shows the same cost categories. So the bar on the right, the darker shaded bar is our actual, and then the lighter shaded purple bar is our budgeted amount. So that first one going from left to right, we have the personnel services costs. Next is the material services and supply. In the middle is equipment, debt service to the right of that, and then the far right we have fixed charges. Next slide, yeah. This is another bar chart. This would show our budgeted operating expenditures for the 6 months. So the yellow bar shows our budgeted expenditures, and then the blue shaded bar shows our actual expenditures by month. And then the lines cutting from the bottom left to the top right, we have that kind of reddish orange line is our budgeted expenditures. And then below that other darker black line is our actual expenditures. So it's about 7.7% under budgeted expenditures. Next slide, please. This is the budget operating revenues bar chart. News by month, and then that line cutting across from the bottom left to top right. Budgeted revenues in that orange line, and then the darker.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, next slide. So this is the conclusion for my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I could take them at this time.
Okay, I have a question to start, which is that I believe maybe a year and a half ago or so, you guys came and talked about all the increases that you're going to be making to folks' water rates. And I just wanted to hear you talk about if you feel like those have been helpful in addressing some of the financial challenges that you were dealing with.
Yeah, so to answer your question, the water rates did go into effect. I think the first increase went into effect February of 2024. And then every July thereafter, there'll be another increase. So July 2024, July 2025, 26, 27, 28. And the majority of that would be for capital improvement projects for the Board of Water Supply.
But has that had the effect that you would have imagined on the budget? Are you guys more ahead of budget like you maybe would have projected, or?
I think from the slides that's been presented, it's basically a snapshot of the 6 months for this fiscal year. So the fiscal year for Board of Water Supply is July through June. We're about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through. So with respect to the operating expenditures as well as the revenues, very favorable as compared to the budget.
Does anyone have other questions on the board, Paul?
I do have one question. You have everything, we're ahead. In other words, now what have we done with that money that's extra, or pocket change, or what do you do with that? Does it go back into the program? Do it paid bonus? Does it go back into the city, state? What do we do with that cash?
Well, we have any kind of revenues that we collect through the water bills would get invested, and then eventually, as these projects are procured and built out, then we would use that that money or those funds to pay for those projects.
Well, it looks like that you have an awful lot of money from money you started with, and more projects being done, still coming out of the city's coffers.
Yeah, so technically, Board of Water Supply is separate from the city. We're a semi-autonomous agency.
Okay, where does this money?
Yeah, so the money is derived mainly from the Board of Water Supply bills that get mailed out monthly. That's the source of revenues that we're using to collect.
Where's where does the excess go? Back into offers, or?
Well, the excess would just be whatever we collect, we would put into the water supply funds that we have.
Okay.
Thank you for that
Watch.
question.
All right, Daniela?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You mentioned that there is a lot, I don't know, excess, and did I understand correctly that is used for capital improvements?
Yes.
And what, can you give some example of capital improvements and location, please?
So any type of infrastructure improvements, let's say a pump station needs repair and maintenance, any kind of exploratory wells that would be needed to be drilled. I'm not in charge of the capital improvement projects, but there is a link on our Board of Water Supply website that has a lot of that information.
In this area? Or
It's on the island of Oahu.
on the whole island?
Yes.
There are some areas in particular where these capital improvements are happening on the island of Oahu?
I would say it's island wide.
All over?
Yeah. So if you actually go to the Board of Water Supply website, there's the approved capital improvement program budget for the fiscal year 2025, which we're in now, and it shows the different projects within there, and you can scroll through and you can read through that.
Thank you.
All right, Edward?
It appears that your budget estimator kind of nailed it in each category, very close. And usually it's in the blue, not in the red. There's a little bit of excess. And yours this is a semi-annual report?
Yeah, it's 6 months into the fiscal year.
6 months into the fiscal. And the revenue is generated, you clarified, from the citizens that use your water throughout. It's a city and county funded, right? There's no state funding.
There's no state funding.
No state funding. And then the final question was kind of answered by my two associates. They asked you, states the either net or gross excess. Paul named it. The profit margin was around 10 million for this last session you did. And again, you kind of said go to the website. You'll see where you're spending the money on improvements. My associate over here wanted to know specifically, especially for our McCully-Mōʻiliʻili McCully area, but we can find that by going onto the internet.
Yes.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
Identita?
Kathleen Pahinumi came to our board a few months ago to talk about the capital improvement project that does impact our neighborhood, which was Kalakaua Bridge.
Did anyone?
Wait, I didn't understand.
All right.
We didn't understand it.
Kathleen Pahinui came to our neighborhood board meeting a few months ago to talk about the capital improvement project that Board of Water Supply did in our neighborhood on the Kalakaua Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Are there other people here in person? I'll get to the stuff online in a second. I had a question about how you guys think that the tariffs and also inflation may affect some of your costs, specifically when you need to bring supplies over from mainland or other countries.
Yeah, so any kind of cost, I mean, if there is, inflation factors, it would just be at the time that the goods or services would be procured for the normal, bidding process or whatever. So it would be captured in that type of, I guess, process.
You know if any of the stuff that you order though is from places that are getting hit with tariffs right now?
I do not know that.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone on the board? All right. Any community members have any questions for Board of Water Supply? All right. Go ahead, Joanne.
Hi, I have a question. Will you guys be able, it's very difficult in Hawaii to make a living, and you raise the electricity, you raise the water. And I think there's a lot of waste. I really believe in this DOGE thing, Department of Government Efficiency. I wish we have that in Hawaii because I see there's a lot of waste. I don't, I tried to get the data about it, but nobody will ever give it to me. So I find that very suspicious as well. Why don't you give seniors a discount? Because, seniors are limited income. They're mostly on Social Security. And for the cost to constantly go up when they're trying to pay for other things as well, is really hard for seniors to, I mean, anybody on the island knows how difficult it is to live here. Many people are moving away because of the cost. So I find that maybe if you help the seniors who are, like maybe setting a certain price instead of every year it's going up, to help them out, do you ever consider something like that? Like a price freeze.
So the water,
65 years old, make just maybe, well, I don't know how you do it, like it's 13 cents or 10 cents or whatever you charge for. I know the HECO charges 30 something cents a kilowatt, right? I don't know how you guys do it, but
yeah, the actual water rates in effect are again posted on our website. I'm not aware of any type of senior citizen program. But
where it's capped, maybe like where it's capped.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything like that. What we
I
do
said,
have,
would you not consider something like that for them? Because like I live in Texas part-time, and 30 something cents is really high compared to their 10 cents a kilowatt. And my husband has a well, so he pays for no water. So, there's a lot of ways that they can have things way cheaper than we do. The cost of living here is high. So I'm just thinking, how can you help the people so they don't have to pay this kind of outrageous prices? How can you, as a Board of Water
30
Water
seconds,
Supply,
Joanne.
help?
yeah, we do have water rebates on our website, www.honoluluboardofwatersupply.com. There is some rebate for low efficient toilets as an example to install, and there's other types of rebates on there. So I would encourage you to just take a look at that and see if any of those rebates might apply to you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Board of Water Supply? All right. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate the
Thank you. Have a good evening.
good one. All right. Mike, you want to come up?
Aloha Board, community members, Mike O'Keefe. I'm the Deputy Director at the City's Department of Environmental Services and also the Mayor's Rep. So just one announcement for tonight and then several follow-up items. The one announcement is the Mayor's March newsletter is available. Some of the highlights are the city's Wahipana Art Initiative making its debut, the Kumu Ola Ho, a traditional a new transitional housing shelter for homeless individuals opens at Ivile Center. Mayor Blangiardi introduced Ray Miyahara, who is the city's new Director of Homeless Solutions. There's also an update for Oahu residents on FEMA's flood insurance rate maps. And lastly, Honolulu is designated recently as a bicycle-friendly community. So you can find the newsletter at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. And so a couple of items, and most of the items that I have to report on tonight are follow-up items from last month's meeting. The first one was about raised crosswalks in the vicinity of Alawai Elementary and Kuhio Elementary that Laura, you raised. And there was a request for DTS, Department of Transportation Services, to consider installing raised crosswalks in the neighborhood at the intersection of Hihivai Street and University near Alawai School, and also at the intersection of Kuile Street and Waiaka near Kuhio School. And so DTS said that they will conduct an investigation, which may include a site inspection, a speed study, and a crosswalk study. And they'll come either directly in person or through me to report the findings of the investigation to the board. Next item, also a follow-up item from previous month. There was a comment about sections of the bike path on Kapahulu being behind restaurants and buildings where there's no lights and it makes them dangerous. The question was, can the city add and improve bike path lighting along Kapahulu? So the city's Department of Parks and Rec said that we'll consider proposed lighting improvement projects, one prioritizing their construction budget request for fiscal year 27. And so fiscal year 27, for those of you who don't know, begins July 1st of 2026. The Blangiardi administration manages its capital improvement budget based not only on funding, but on priority. Backlog lists on improvements and the staff levels needed to complete the work. And then the city's Department of Design and Construction, who executes the city's capital improvement program, said that they will commit to supporting the Department of Parks and Recs if and when they get the funding for this improved lighting project. Let's see, another follow-up request related to the bathroom at KCC. Some of you might remember that there was issues with a broken toilet and no in the men's room and no water running in the women's restroom. A couple of questions: can HPD monitor and patrol the area for vandalism and other criminal activity? And also, can DFM, the city's Department of Facility Maintenance, install security cameras at the park to prevent vandalism and other criminal activity? So, DFM responded that I think this was an original response actually due to repeated vandalism. They had held off on making the repairs, but however, they're going to go out and do the repairs as soon as they can. DFM is also going to collaborate with the city's Department of Parks on the need for security at the comfort station. I guess that's a dual jurisdiction area for both those departments. So maybe I'll have another better report on the cameras for next month. HPD responded on February 12th, 2025. A day watch officer checked both men's and women's bathrooms, and there were broken toilets and sinks. The officer reported it to KCC security, but was told that it is not their property and that the Oahu Transit Services opens and locks the bathrooms daily. The officer had made a criminal property damage report last year, but noticed that the damages were never fixed. No other vandalism or criminal activity was seen. Officers will continue to make checks at the park for illegal activity. So I think we've established that the Department of Facilities Maintenance is going to fix the toilet and the water issue if it's not already fixed. And they're going to work with the city's Department of Parks and Rec on the security camera issue. Also a follow-up item from last month, question about enforcement of tow-away zone on South King Street from Makahiki Way to University. The follow-up question was, how often does HPD enforce the tow-away zone, and can the parking prohibition during certain times be enforced on weekdays excluding holidays? HPD responded that officers check tow-away zones in the area on a daily basis. No parking violations were recently observed. However, officers will continue to monitor the area and take appropriate actions when violations are observed. And the last item I have is about illegal dumping along Coolidge Street. Someone noted that there is a growing pile of rubbish in front of DHL building on Coolidge Street. Can something be done about this? HPD responded, officers checked 728 Coolidge Street on February 21st. The officer found a few discarded items, but did not deem the items a public health hazard, and they were not blocking the sidewalk or driveway. For more information about illegal dumping, you can visit the website honolulu.gov/ENV, my department. If someone is observed to be conducting illegal dumping, the public can call 911 and an officer will be sent to make checks and take appropriate enforcement actions for observed violations. And that was it for the follow-up items. There were a couple of new items, 4 items specifically that were raised, and I apologize, we didn't get responses to those questions in time for tonight's meeting, so I'll have to circle back next month with that information. But that concludes my report for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, who on the board has questions? All right, let's start with Chris, work our way down.
Yeah, I was just wondering about roughly how long should it take DTS to conduct those studies for the raised crosswalks? And do you have a typical time window?
It's a good question. Not my department, so I'm not sure, but I can find out for next month.
All right, Daniela.
Yes. Can you articulate a little bit more, please, the neighborhood plan review and also the Alawai Bridge project, please?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
I see them listed here as a topic that I suppose you might describe or.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, can you?
I'm not quite sure why that's listed there. If there was a specific question, I can take it back, but I don't have anything in particular to say on those items tonight. I'm not sure why it's listed like that.
It's stated here, there is no comment?
No update from me tonight, no.
Not today?
Not today.
The next time?
If there's a question,
okay.
I saw that on the report. I'm not sure why that was there.
Just wanted to put you on the spot.
I see that the Alawai Bridge project was mentioned, and then because I saw several articles on the newspaper describing the community event, so-called charrette, was not really charrette. So I was hoping you would have some extra information for us.
I don't, unfortunately.
You just do you have a question for him that you want him to give?
Yes, the question is, can you please talk about this the next time?
We'll keep it on the agenda for next time. Lucky you. All right, who else? I see other people. Dave.
Yes, about the bathroom. I was by there today. It still broke down. And I don't know if you happen to read it or not, but in civilbeat.org, there was a story about that written by Dan Vivasset. Did you read that?
I saw it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, you're the mayor's rep. The questions and things that we bring up, do you feel like it's your job to get these things taken care of, or do you report back to the mayor and tell him that, hey, this bathroom's broken down, nothing's being done?
No, I mean, if it's, so it's my job to follow up to make sure that the appropriate department addresses the issues that are raised at the meeting. And if there's an extended period of time, like the bathrooms at KCC, for example, aren't getting fixed in what I think is an appropriate amount of time, I'll personally follow up with the department.
I think something like this, the mayor should be aware of it, because all the people that go up there to the Saturday farmers market, including many, many Japanese visitors, they all want to use that. Even the water fountain outside is broke down, and if everybody even in the audience, it's a nice reading to go to civilbeat.org and type in the search, says something about Diamond Head bathroom, and the whole article come up, as well as many comments people have written in response to the article. And I talked last month, I might have mentioned it to you before, but I talked to Gene Albano, Department of Facilities Maintenance, about it. He said they're still going back and forth between the city and the state as to whose responsibilities it is. Now, 3 or 4 years before that, after COVID, I talked to Roger Babcock, who was the head of that department at that time. He told me the same thing, fighting whose responsibility it is. And then they finally accepted that it was the city's responsibility. And so he started
30
unlocking
seconds.
it. He had the bus drivers unlock it. And now, a year later, Gene Albano says they're still deciding whose responsibility that is.
Well, I mean, reading the report that I gave tonight, it seems like DFM, so Gene's department, has accepted responsibility and they committed to fixing it. It sounds like they haven't done that yet, so that's what I'll follow up on.
There's no reason why it shouldn't be repaired already.
Got it.
All right, Paul.
Okay, I got a question for you. About 6 years ago, on Punahou and Baratania, on the Mountain City direction, that street light there, if you go there anytime during the day, everybody's beeping their horns. And I brought out the city planners, whatever, and they said they were going to fix it as soon as they repaved the area, because they had to change the thing that underground that changes the lights. Nobody's done anything. Those people in that building they've had it up to here. Because it's what happens is, if a lot of people don't know, you can make a right-hand turn on red, and we're talking major all day long.
Okay.
So I would like to get an answer for that.
Sure.
Thanks.
I was wondering if we could get Roy Yahira to come to one of our meetings, maybe in April or May. It was great last year to have the previous folks in charge of homelessness at the city, county, and also the state level to come to the meetings. And since there's someone new and in charge, I would love to have Roy attend as well. It also would be helpful too to get a little bit more context about Roy being chosen. I know that I had some conversations with folks about him not having any social services background and so forth. So any more information about how that appointment was made would be great.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right, Ed.
Good report. Rick and I go way back together, but as the mayor's representative, you probably see him more often these days than I do. And he's an incredibly busy man and tries to make as many events as he possibly can. I've invited him on several occasions to please come to our neighborhood number 8 meeting and just make a drive-by sometime the beginning of the meeting between 6:30 and 7, if he could do that. And I was going to ask if you could carry that invitation and tell him it's Edward Hulls, one of the board members, that is extending that invitation to him. If he could make a personal experience and answer these questions, some of them directly, it would make a huge impact and we would be so appreciative.
I will ask.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul.
This one has to do with homeless, basically. We're building high rises and whatnot, getting new hotel or apartments for people. It seems like people that don't live here buy those apartments and they rent them to anybody they like. I think we should do something about, if you buy an apartment, somebody from here should live there. Shouldn't be out-of-towners, shouldn't be anything like that. Then I think that would take care of a lot of the, not only homeless, but people that are going, I can't find any place to live. That's
All right, is there anyone else on the board here? Okay, what about online, Curtis? All right, we have community members. Any other community members in person? Go ahead, Laura. I know everyone knows you, but do you mind saying your name?
Yes, Laura Ruby. Thank you, Michael, for your good presentation. Just to follow up with the two crosswalk areas, if they'll come between 7:30 and about 8:15 in the morning and about 5:30 to 6:30 in the afternoons, and if they get out of their car and stand like in the cemetery and look out at the Cohio School one and stand at the corner at Hi'iwai and University, they'll see it's almost all Iolani school parents that run the signals. So if they'll do that, that will be, you'll see them all there. We're thinking of taking photographs of all of their license plates, but we haven't. Anyway, thank you if you can follow up. Now, the real thing I wanted to ask you is, can you ask DTS Director Roger Morton to please come to our next meeting? We know we've been trying to ask, and that would include also having him come to the other 4 meetings that are our neighborhood boards in our adjacent areas, and give us an update. We know that things have been shifting down from the federal government. We don't know how it will shift down. And we don't know what the interface is between the DTS plans and the Army Corps of Engineers plans for the supposed flood control walls. But we really need to know those things, and it's been way too long, and we're just sort of out in the dark with this. If you can ask them to do that. We don't want just the usual PAP. That's the historical reason why and the time in which things are taking place. We want what really is the updating that's now. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. All right, Joanne, go ahead. Joanne, are you here? Okay, I'm going to go to Daisy.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. O'Keefe, about 2 weeks ago, I ran into Director Morton, and he told me the update regarding the Alawai Bridge. One, the soil that the sample that they took shows that the soil around the area that they want to build the bridge is soft. So he was suggesting that you build the bridge farther back as far as where it starts, I guess. The other thing is construction is to start in 2026. Now, I have no idea who he has, or the city has chosen to actually build the bridge, because it's a design and build concept. The thing is, regarding that, it seems as though I asked him, isn't the soil kind of soft? He said yes. So I assume that because there is no change in the price of $63 million and soil being soft, and they're going to move the piling or whatever way back, I assume that they're going to stick with what they had decided, regardless of what the people of Oahu had said. They don't like the sailboat bridge. They want something low maintenance. So I assume that that is the current plan. I have no idea, but all I know is that it's going to start in 2026. That's one. The other concern is regarding the new buses. It looks great. It's really nice inside. It has message boards, etc. Question is, why not have the signs not in blue against a dark background, but rather have it in white or orange, because then it's far better, easier to see the bus name and the number, because blue against a dark background is hard to see. So also, if something can be done to maybe announce, not only have it on the message board as to what the next stop is, it would help the visitors. Please, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, I just had one more thing to add. I did a walk around with Representative Olds and Betsy, who was here in the one of the community members here a couple weeks ago, and we spent a lot of time at King and Kalakaua, where there's a bus station that's right next to the gas station. And I'm wondering what type of thought the city has given / action to beautifying that area. There is a lot of dirt and some grass and trash, and there's a lot of space over there. There's some trees and so forth, but the area is definitely unkept overall. So I would really love to know who has thought about reimagining that place, beautifying it, and what efforts they're taking there.
Got it. Thank you. I'll find out.
All right, Paul.
To go with you, Morgan,
Excuse me, do we get a chance to talk?
Joanne,
I'm trying
I'm going to go with Paul, and we called on you earlier and you weren't here.
I'm trying to fix my car and
All right,
being
Joanne,
on
I'm
here.
going to turn it to Paul right now.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Morgan on the King and Kalakaua. The problem is across the street in front of the, what is that, a savings place or a storage facility? That whole thing all the way up to the Korean Park, they have homeless there. That's where the people came from across the street. And occasionally they'll go across the street and stay there until they're told to leave. That whole area is full of homeless folks. I live in that area. I see every day the same people. But anyhow,
All right. Okay, Joanne, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to repair my car while I'm trying to listen. So bear with me. And Paul had 3 chances. You had 2 chances. So maybe I get a little longer time. Anyway, to the mayor's rep. And also, this is going, I don't know if I can continue to listen because I have to get my car repaired. But this is also going to Taylor Date, who's Nishimoto's representative. He should answer his telephone. I don't know why. I've called 10 times. They have not answered their phone. And I also asked Mayor Blangiardi personally. I had talked to him the other day about March 17th, 4:30 to come to meet at McCully Stadium Park to see what is going on with all this car issues and not enough signage in our neighborhood. I did talk to John Noguchi. We really do need a Doge in our city and county and legislature because we don't get answers. And that's what's frustrating all of the community. No answers. You don't need to call 10, 20 times about the same subject and get no answer. And I've talked to John Noguchi. He was supposed to call me back. He put in order for signs. I don't know when it's going to happen. Is it going to be within my lifetime? I don't know. We need to get answers because we have to keep chasing people for answers. And I don't think that's efficient, the government running efficiently. If we have to keep asking every meeting the same thing over and over, we can't move on. So can you find out for me, first of all, if Mayor Blangiardi will show up on March 17th? I told him to put it down. I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but at least he could
30
answer
seconds.
me about that. Don't I get longer time? Because you guys had like longer time.
No,
Anyway,
just 30 more seconds.
oh, wow. It's unfair. Anyway, so ask him about that and also ask him about what the signage in our area, when is it going to be done? I can't imagine it takes so long to get signs up.
Okay.
We're not in a primitive, country anymore. We're advanced, but we can't even make signs. I don't understand.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming, Mike.
Thank you, Mahalo.
All right. Who do we have from Scott Nishimoto's office? Hi, Taylor.
Hi, Morgan. Thank you guys for hosting the meeting today. Specifically in regards to March 17th, that's a meeting that Councilmember Nishimoto set up with residents along Eisenberg Street, specifically to talk about Eisenberg parking meters. So this is not just a general meeting for all signage and parking in the area. This is specifically to talk about Eisenberg parking meters. So yeah, that will be happening on March 17th at 4:30 p.m. But otherwise, I have some responses from our last meeting. Constituent Gregory Quadra. So we had put in risers a few times on the peace truck and trailer that was stationed on Eisenberg Street for a few months now. And thankfully, to the collective effort of city departments, they cited the abandoned vehicle and it was recently towed late last month. So, that truck does tend to pop up in different parts of our neighborhood, but hopefully for the time being, it remains towed. Per Colin, there was issues with illegally parked cars on Manalo Street. So from February 6th to 25th, District 1 officers checked the area to address the concerns. And during these checks, they cited 3 vehicles for parking within 4 feet of the driveway, 1 citation for parking within 10 feet of the fire hydrant, and 2 cars were chalked for possible abandoned vehicles. And then finally, so this past Monday, Councilmember Nishimoto, Mr. Ohisa, Mr. Kalaparis, and Kate Payne, we hosted a community walkthrough where we took pictures and cited multiple legally parked cars, some issues with potholes, sidewalks, and piles of trash in our neighborhood. So I'm submitting all those, and hopefully the different city departments can help us to address those. But yeah, otherwise, just an announcement on Saturday, along with Representative Bellotti, will be hosting a free tax preparation clinic at the Hawaii State Library. Appointments will be required, so I'll drop that information in the chat. So just, but yeah, please feel free to ask any questions so I can follow up on anything.
All right, who has questions on the board? No one? Anyone online? All right, anyway, neighborhood. Go ahead, Betsy.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just have two quick things. Oh,
And do you mind introducing yourself?
yes, I'm Betsy Kawamura, and I live on 1670 Kalakaua. And Morgan took her time, along with Ika Ika Olds, about a week or 10 days, 2 weeks ago, to do a neighborhood walk around our area around 1670 and 1649 Kalakaua. It's right across from Palawa Market, which is adjacent to Don Quixote. Anyways, the 2 points are that Ika Ika, Morgan, and I, we were wondering, there was like little plots of land, and there's a homeless tends to stay at the bus stops. But apparently, according to Ika Ika, it's difficult to figure out if this is public pavement or private. When there's homeless areas that are green and grassy, apparently it's private property of Don Quixote or Paloma Market. So I did send a email to you, Taylor, about helping us figure out the division between public and private, and in terms of trying to manage the homeless, because I had a discussion with HPD about this. The other second factor I think is quite important is the issue of the shopping carts, especially around where I live. You have Don Quixote, you have Walmart and Sam's. And, we invariably find these abandoned shopping carts all over, and especially at the intersection of Kalakaua and South King, the trouble area with the Makiki Stream. Every other time, there is Eon, all of us going through, we see like abandoned shopping carts. Ika Ika said that he was trying to introduce a bill regarding abandoned shopping carts. And I think, Taylor, if you could really stress this to Scott and also perhaps to Mayor Blangiardi, we need some kind of aggressive management scheme on the shopping carts, because it's continuing to be dumped into the stream. And the abandoned shopping carts, it enables homelessness. So we look forward to hearing from you, Taylor, from Scott regarding these two issues. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Betsy. I have a website that I was looking at that I could send you. It's like a GIS website that helps to identify city and state property. It's a little bit hard to identify the private property, but I know I sent you a map earlier on helping you identify who owns certain land for private property. So I'll follow up with you on that. And, we stopped by to assist Rep. Olds on that bill he's introducing, but I'll talk to my boss also about the shopping carts.
Taylor, I just wanted to add that I would also definitely support this shopping cart legislation. I don't know exactly all the details that it entails, but I think it'd be great to kind of require supermarkets to have security measures for their carts so that they can't leave the parking lot. And the other thing that I was wondering is, could you unpack for those of us who are not familiar what the concept of risers is and how it affects different things that you're trying to do when it comes to helping the community?
Yeah, so you can view the councilman as kind of like the mediator or intermediary between like the constituent and the managing director, meaning the mayor and all the departments that fall under the mayor. And so our way of communicating through the like to the mayor and his departments is by sending out these riser requests for investigations. And the managing director's office reviews these risers and then assigns them to specific departments within the city specifically. And they can be assigned to one department, they can be assigned to multiple departments. And it's kind of just essentially a city side tracking system. This public doesn't have access to it, but we can share the findings that the updates we receive from this like internal communication system. But yeah, it's just a way for the different city departments to communicate to each other and at least have a paper trail to some degree, because there's a lot of, the districts are quite big and there's a lot of diverse requests. So it's good we have some form of system to monitor these.
Thank you. All right, Joanne?
Okay, then March 17th. Oh, first of all, how come you don't answer your telephone or call back? Because I don't have any message back from you.
Yeah, we call back up all of our constituents, but
Except me?
I mean, we've heard that you're connected through Director Formby and but we're happy to review any of the emails you send us.
It's a similar problem. So I was going to show up on March 17th and you said it's only on Eisenberg. So while you're there, you should not make it only about Eisenberg. You should make it about Houston. You should make it about Coolidge, all that area, since Nishimoto is going to be out there anyway. I would suggest that you look at the whole area while you are there, not just Eisenberg alone. And
we
I would
actually
suggest
did a walk.
Wait a minute. I suggest that you call back because I know you get my phone number. I mean, I know you get my messages. And the last meeting you said that I sounded threatening, which I'm not threatening. And if you can't take the heat, you should get out, because not everybody's going to agree with the way you do things. But at least if you communicate, that is very important. I don't believe in having to call that many times to get my representative to do or help in some matters. I've asked for things and everything takes so long. I know we live in Hawaii, but Jesus Christ, I don't think we should have to be waiting for months and months and months for some answer about the same subject.
30 seconds.
On March 17th, I hope you guys are there. I mean, I will be there. I hope Mayor Belangiardi will be there as well too. And that you guys will answer the questions and do something about our area, not just, listen to our concerns, but nothing gets done.
This meeting on March 17th will specifically be for the parking meters on Eisenberg.
Expand it to more than
we
that.
just held a meeting on Monday that was we did a whole community walkthrough. So we walked, with Mr. Ohisa on Eisenberg, Houston. So we were able to monitor the different issues so that, we were trying to look at multiple things during this walkthrough. So, but the Eisenberg parking meter people, they wanted their own meeting. So we're going to dedicate that time to them.
Okay, so can you make one for us too then? Houston and Coolidge and the rest, the whole area of Mōʻiliʻili.
Sorry, I think Mr. Ohisa's hand is up.
Okay, go ahead, Richard.
First of all, I would like to thank Taylor and Scott Nishimoto on that walk. It was very refreshing, and but what happened was they let the Eisenberg neighborhood people know about it, and what happened was they were really specific about the paid meters, and that's all they wanted to do. But we wanted to show Taylor and Mr. Nishimoto the area about the trash and the illegal parking and that kind of stuff. And to me, honestly, with the meters up at the Eisenberg Street, it has significantly changed the atmosphere on the road. You do not see cars illegally parked without paying. And also, you know, I mean, anybody can come there during the day and you're going to find parking. The whole neighborhood of McCully is just packed with people parking on corners by Viola Chevy store illegally. I mean, it has come to be a dump, honestly. You know, I'm a Kalakaua and King.
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, but anyway, I just wanted to say to a member, if they want something, say something and make an appointment for Mr. Nishimoto. I'm sure he'll make a time and they'll walk through your area. Anybody. He has return calls, and Taylor is number one on that returning calls. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for coming, Taylor, and have a great month. We're going to move on to board business now, and we have a couple different summaries of our minutes that we are for the video record that we need to approve. So, Curtis, what is our protocol here?
Are there any corrections for the written summary for November 7th, 2024? The link is on the agenda.
Donna has corrections, so I move to approve the minutes with the corrections
As amended. Okay.
as amended.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any objections to the motion? Okay. Written summary for November 7th has been approved. Now to the written summary for December 5th. Member Aldana,
I motion to approve the minutes with the amendments proposed.
as amended on the agenda. A link. Okay.
And I second.
Is there a second also by Salas? Okay. Any objections? Okay, approved. And February 6th, 2025. You all should have received a copy. If not, there should be, someone might have taken all my copies, but I have a copy right here. Are there any corrections to the February 6th written summary? Any corrections? No corrections. Without objection, the written summary for February 6, 2025 has been approved.
Okay, so just so everyone is aware, I talked to Rich, who's over here, who helps to do our AV for this stuff. And as you know, we have this space that we're doing our meeting in. So we need to be out of the building at 9 p.m. And in order to do that, this meeting will be done at 8:45 p.m. And in order to use our time the best, I am hoping that we can move our meetings a half hour earlier to 6 p.m. So that is what is the next part of the agenda is. I would like to motion that we change this to 6.
Can we
to
ask
dis-
questions?
To discuss it? Yeah, so I'm motioning to discuss a meeting change to 6.
I second.
All right, go ahead.
We used to start our meetings at 6, so what was the reason for us pushing it back to 6:30?
More time to get to the meeting. All right, if you're talking, can you grab the mic, Milton?
Oh no, I said like when I started to come in, it was at 7.
I see.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Paul.
Earlier we tried 6 and it didn't work out because people were having problems getting away from work. So that's why we went to went to 7. And then now we're back at 6:30. So
Any other points? Anything else you want to say?
It's worth a try. And see how it, and if we need to change it, then we could potentially discuss it again.
All right, if you're going to talk, make sure you have a mic. Go ahead, Chris.
I agree. I feel like we are constantly hitting our time limit here. It's worth trying 6. And if we don't see a good turnout from either board or constituents, then we can make the change again back to 6:30.
yeah, that's no problem. That's what we should do.
Danielle, you wanted to say something?
No, I just want to mention that there is someone in the room that would wish to speak.
Okay, I just wanted to see if anyone on the board. Does the community weigh in on this stuff too? Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, Laura, I'm fine with whatever time you want, but this room with the whatever judo or whatever they're doing over here is just competing with what people want to say in here. Have you looked into other venues that might be possible? Like a number of years ago, we used to always meet at Washington Middle School. And,
No, it wasn't.
you know, and so we wouldn't have to compete with this. I could hardly hear what was going on and all of that. So thank you.
That was the best.
Chris?
I was just going to say, I remember Paul doing research into it a few months back. We could try to
Didn't it would have every time
for another spot
I went
again.
back to
But
someplace, they asked me how much is rent. And it turned out every time that's too expensive.
Paul, do you mind emailing the board your notes about what your findings were?
I don't mind if I can find them.
Okay, it would be helpful because I know that you and I had a conversation about some of the places that you visited and so forth. So, and then Curtis as well, if you're able to tell us what our budget is, I think that would help people.
I can take it back to the office.
No, that's fine. It's fine if you don't know right now.
Come on, Curtis, open up your wallet.
All right, well, we can work on getting a number. Free is apparently preferred. I think Wi-Fi is also great too. Okay.
This is not free here. It is. Oh, but I like.
Paul, speaking to the mic.
That's work. Okay, yeah, I really like it here because I'm closer to the kids doing the, it's just, it gets me really up for this. I don't doze out anymore. No, yeah. See if I can find those notes.
so I motion to put it to vote.
I second.
And what do we need? Majority? Or?
Are there any objections to starting the McCully Neighborhood Board number 8 meetings at 6 p.m. effective April 2025?
I would like as an attempt until we find perhaps a different place or we see that 6 o'clock is too early for a lot of people to participate. So can we have it for as an experiment for two months?
Do you have an objection or not? No objections, right?
No.
Right.
Are there any objections to the motion to change the meeting time to 6 p.m.? Seeing none, the McCully Neighborhood Board meetings will start at 6 p.m. effective April 2025.
All right. We're gonna we have 1 more hour to go, and then for next meeting we'll be starting at 6. All right, we are now going to have a presentation.
Can I
right
say
now
something? Do you see
I'm
people's
sorry, we
hands
already
up?
voted on this. I'm sorry, Jen, we're moving on.
I'm not talking
Roberta,
about
can
that.
you go
I'm
ahead
asking about a
and set up
different
for
place.
this? No,
I'm
we're not
just
going to be talking
asking
about that
about a
right now.
different
I'm sorry. Okay. Curtis, do you mind pulling her presentation up? Awesome. While he's pulling it up, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, of course. Can everyone hear me? Okay, perfect. So my name is Roberta. I am from the Mediation Center of the Pacific. We work to resolve disputes of all kinds. They range from all sorts of different issues. They could be neighborhood, they could be divorce, the landlord tenant, the gamut. I personally work in the early eviction mediation space. So my presentation tonight will be talking about the early eviction mediation program. You can go to the next slide. So a little bit of history and background about the program. It was launched in 2021 as part of Act 57 with the eviction moratorium. So it was a mandatory program that required landlords to mediate. We had about 6,000 cases. That was our target. We mediated about 1,300 out of 3,000 cases. We had an 85% retainment in housing for those cases. So it was a great success. Next slide. Along with this, though, since Act 57 expired, we've moved forward with private funding to be able to continue the program. So the program remains in effect, but it remains voluntary and it doesn't include the rental assistance, which was part and parcel of the Act 57, which did contribute in some ways to a success. Next slide. What we do know about this program, EEM, Early Eviction Mediation Program, that it's a benefit to both. Mediation Center of the Pacific is a neutral third party. So we're not taking either side in the issues around housing stability, but we're trying to increase communication between the parties to further increase housing stability. So it can be a benefit to landlords in the event that they are in eviction proceedings. It could be time consuming. It could be anywhere from 1 to 4 months, even as long as 6 months to be able to go through an eviction process. So that can be very painful for landlords. Additionally, having agreements in place is helpful for landlords in the sense that they can have a good relationship with tenants, who may or may not leave, could be a longer lease, all of these things. So increasing those agreements and those good relationships is really important for the stability and security of their investment as well. It also is very monetarily draining. It could be anywhere from $400 up to $10,000 per eviction. And also just when those agreements, if they do break down, because there are cases where they do, it's not 1,000% successful every time. Things happen and there are changes along the way. They can bring to court a letter stating that they did make every effort to resolve this case, to move their case along. Next slide. As we know, it's also a benefit to tenants. It increases housing stability in the sense that, one, it allows them to remain in houses many times. And then beyond that, it also allows for tenants to have longer move out periods. So in the event that this isn't the right fit for the tenant and landlord, just because of the cost of housing or several other factors that may come into play, having that move out time that makes sense for the tenants based on where they are, based on their situation is very important. Having that flexibility and conversation between landlords is important. Just having those relationships, again, remaining intact is super important. Also, having evictions on record can be super harmful for people. One, it contributes towards houselessness because that eviction record will follow you time and time again. Two, if you're a Section 8 recipient, that boots you off Section 8. And we know that those are people who tend to be on a very fixed level of income. So because of that, it creates this just opening chasm of houselessness. Overall, it just creates greater community strength and be able to have those relationships intact and being able to preserve a sense of housing stability in terms of knowing where you're going to be or what your next steps are, as well as remaining in house. Next line. So our EM program has progressed. Currently, we take about 33% of the cases that come to us that are landlord tenant. The other remaining part of the pie are cases that were received directly from district court. The benefits of EM is that it's an expedited program. So what we do know in the successes of EM in fiscal year 24 and 25, we're between 92 and 93% success rate on agreement. So we know when people come to the table, we get solutions, and those are solutions that work for those parties. They've worked out something that's sensible for them. We also know that EM cases on the rise. We've seen about 60% rise from Q1. Next slide. So how EM works, it provides landlords and tenants with a neutral third-party mediator who works through the issues. It's over Zoom, so it's helpful to be able to mediate in that sense. It provides a place where tenants feel comfortable, where landlords feel comfortable. It's ease of scheduling. We also provide interpreters if necessary. If there's any technology assistance that's needed, we provide that in office. Next slide. So for scheduling, we can schedule within a 48-hour period. We typically resolve cases within 3 to 5 business days. And then when you look at the length that it goes through the court process, again, that can be an up to 6-month process. So if you come to a resolution where you know where you stand, what your next steps are, how you're going to address your issues, it's really helpful to have that expedited. Next slide. We also are incorporating tools like we partnered with HCA to provide an eviction calculator. And so the eviction calculator is not part of HCA's program, but we partnered with other outside organizations. So the eviction calculator is on the landlord side. So it's a tool that we provide. Basically, landlords will input their information, how many units they have, the square footage of the units, what it typically costs to rent the unit. So they put in all of their information, and then next slide, all of that information gets calculated out to give them an actual real life cost analysis for what that eviction is going to cost them. So it makes numbers that can be very fluid, anywhere from 400 to 10,000, really realistic and really down to that particular landlord's issues. Next slide. The budget calculator is what we partnered with HCA. So this program, basically we take budget documentation that's built for communities here. It's very built to the local understanding, local experiences, and local expenses. So it's not built around what mainland budgeting typically tends to be. So next slide. And it will also give a more specific perspective for people who are on the tenant side to be able to understand where their finances are, what they can reasonably agree to, so that those agreements become successful in the end. Next slide. We also, we've been working with the legislature to create a mandatory program around eviction to just give like a period of time where landlords are required to mediate, similar to the Act 57 program. It didn't survive this round of legislation, but we're hoping to continue forward with it. Next slide. We're also working on tenant Kukua hubs, and this is where we're partnering with agencies in the community that are already hubs where people go to for advice, for information, for resources. And we're partnering with them so that they can have the tools to be able to direct people to mediation, help them fill out online forms, and then potentially give them a space if they have available for technology assistance. So we've been partnering with HCA, with Family Promise. We're working with McCully-Mōʻiliʻili and also with Waikiki Community Center. Next slide. So for any EEM requests, we have a QR code. Go to our website, mediatehawaii.org, click contact us to schedule a mediation. I also have several flyers I will leave if anyone is interested in more information. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's great to learn about this program that you guys are doing. All right, anyone have questions or comments here on the board? Daniela?
I have a question. Do you also work with legal aid?
We do. So we will send out a lot of referrals to legal aid. We've partnered with legal aid. Legal aid has done a lot of information sessions with our mediator. So we work hand in hand. Not every case is perfect for mediation. Some cases do require more legal support and intervention. So we do refer out to them when needed. We just want to be a resource for people who can go this route.
Do you also work with Appleseed?
Hawaii Appleseed. So Hawaii Appleseed released a report where some of these numbers came from in terms of what the impact has been. So yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, Milton.
Yeah, you mentioned something about $5,000 to $10,000. That's kind of like how much you charge, or am I mistaken?
So eviction costs for landlords can be anywhere between 400 and 10,000. It really depends. Like if you're going pro se and you're doing self-filing, there's, you know, a cost to file those fees with the court. And then if you do choose to have any legal representation, then that can add up. And then you're also factoring in costs like time lost from work, any of those. So like it can stagger pretty high quickly.
One more question. I might have not understood correctly, but I was concerned when you mentioned that the funds are almost gone, and so a lot of volunteer work.
So we for our fund, I'm sorry to interrupt, Terry.
No, go ahead.
So just to explain the funding, we have a private funder who is funding this program specifically. So we're in place for now. We would like to make it a more permanent part of the community, which is why we're reaching out to legislation to make it more of a permanent part of the way people see things moving forward, that they can work together hand in hand, landlord and tenant. That's what we're looking to change the mindset and the culture in the community. Because what we recognize is, and we're seeing numbers of like higher and higher kapuna landlords who they subsist on these rental incomes. So it's impacting the community on both sides. So we don't see this as an issue that's solely tenant based or solely landlord based. It's a community issue.
Thank you very much.
Edendada?
There's a really wonderful book by sociologist Matthew Desmond. It's called Evicted, and basically he did this anthropological work in studying the experience of people getting evicted and also the land owners or the landlords. And so it's really, really fascinating. It's super, super, super important work that you do, Roberta. So thank you so much for sharing this information in our community. When evictions happen, it really strengthens all of the bonds within our community. And yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Do we have anyone? I don't see any board members online that have questions. Any community members want to ask questions about this program? All right. I don't see any community members here. Anyone online? All right. Thank you so much for coming, Roberta. I really enjoyed learning about this program. All right. We have Ross, who I believe is online, who is going to talk about this resolution.
Hello, Chair. Mahalo.
Hey, hey. Ross, are you here?
Hi there. You can all hear me. I'm here. Are you able to hear me okay?
Right now. It was a little choppy earlier.
If there's technical difficulty, can you?
Go ahead and continue.
Oh, okay. So, sorry, I'm going to try to move where there's better reception. My apologies. I'm at another meeting.
Hold on, it's pretty choppy right now.
Grassroots Coalition. Okay. I'm trying my best here. And if this isn't going to work, Chair, and we can have my presentation. So I'm here about part of a grassroots coalition that advocates solutions for the affordable housing crisis. So City Council Bill 46 is what I want to be here to talk about. Bill 46 can really help by curbing demand from speculators and outside investors. Now, for far too long, we've allowed outsiders who desire to own a piece of our paradise to build up and purchase our residential units, taking advantage of some of the lowest property taxes in the nation. So Bill 40 to me. Now,
Ross, I would turn off your video and see if it's any better.
they are allowed to.
Ross,
Let me try that.
do
Sorry.
you mind just turning off your video and seeing if your audio comes in stronger?
Okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, community. Is the audio any better?
Yes.
Okay, apologies. So I'll be very quick. Bill 46, this is for the affordable housing crisis. This is looking to place an incremental property tax on additional excess units that investors, speculators own that are in excess and are vacant. We believe this will help with the affordable housing crisis. Thank you for considering a resolution. I'll pause there and let you all discuss.
All right. So Curtis, we need someone to introduce a motion to. All right. Is there anyone who wants to motion for a discussion on this resolution?
I move to discuss this resolution.
No, second.
All right. Anyone have a discussion or wants to ask Ross a question? Go ahead, Edendada.
I've been hearing about Bill 46 for a while, at least 6 months, I want to say, Ross. So can you enlighten me as to the resolution being brought up now? I know that City Council discusses it. They are quite good at having a lot of long discussion. Yeah, can you, I guess, give me the update?
Yes, I can give you the update. Great question. It was up for a third and final reading in December 2024, but Chair Tommy Waters decided to defer it pending additional information from an Ernst & Young report or a study that was coming out. So we believe that this should come up imminently or sometime in 2025. But the reason that we're going around to the neighborhood boards is we believe this vote amongst the council members might be very, very tight. So whatever support from the community can be garnered, we think it will help.
All right, Paul, did you have a question?
No, I was talking about that earlier, about the houses, so basically the same thing.
All right, any other neighborhood board members that would like to comment on any of this? Go ahead, Daniela.
Are you going to put are we accepting the resolution and vote on?
We will vote on it. We may vote on it after this. So do you have any questions right now? Okay, go ahead, Anindra.
So sorry, I know that this isn't your jurisdiction, but I suppose I would be interested in understanding more about this Ernest Young report that Chair Tommy Waters found important and significant enough to sort of pause moving forward on this bill.
Yes, I'd be happy to answer that. So the Ernst & Young Consultants Report, this has been an idea that's been studied for about 5 years now. And whether it's cities like Vancouver and DC, it's been proven to work in those cities. The Ernst & Young report is really looking at the implementation concepts of the bill. Just for context, if this even is adopted, this bill would not be effective until 2027. So I think Chair Waters is just, taking the prudent route of going ahead and waiting for the report or some more information. But still, the concepts of the bill, affordable housing, stop speculative investment, is still consistent.
I don't know if we can be ready to vote in favor or against the resolution, and if we are prepared enough and knowledgeable enough about this resolution to vote now.
Are there questions that you want to ask about the resolution that you want to ask Ross right now?
I think she still needs to know more about it.
Right, I'm just saying Ross can answer some of the questions since he's part of the coalition that's sponsoring the resolution.
Lots of questions about this bill, and I don't know if we are all informed about the latest changes that have happened. Maybe you are, but I think some of us need to know in more details this bill, because conceptually it's wonderful, but as it is implemented, there are some weaknesses. Thank you.
And if I might, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ross.
If I may comment, no, I totally appreciate and can highly respect your ideas and your thoughts to be cautious. I'll just want to share for any other board members out there, especially. So far, I think 4 other neighborhood boards have passed a resolution just in concept in support of the idea of an empty homes tax. I mean, these boards have said, look, speculative investment has been going on for decades, maybe even longer. So just to pass a concept into ordinance is important enough for us as community members. And now granted, we do expect the council and the administration to dot their I's, cross their T's, and that's part of their job. But I just want to share that, I think a recent survey by Ward Research Incorporated said 74% of Oahu residents just support this core concept. That's an overwhelming number. So, but no, totally appreciate for some of you who would like to be patient.
Go ahead.
I think the only shakeup we had in city council this year was our rep, Scott Nishimoto. And so I think that means that the majority of city council, if they hear to vote again, have already heard all of the arguments and they got pretty far. So the only one that this is maybe new for is Scott Nishimoto. And so for that, given that he represents us, if it's okay with you guys, I motion for us to vote to support this resolution if there's no further discussion. I have kept up with the conversation. So essentially, when homes on Oahu are empty because they're owned by folks who are on the continent, or maybe they're even folks owned by local families, they're being kept empty. And so the city council proposes, hey, if you have an empty house, you got to pay higher taxes on it. And it's a really small tool that we could potentially use to try to incentivize opening up housing that already exists, because we can't just build our way out of this. So that's it. I move to vote on the resolution.
I'm going to pause really quickly to take some fun online, and then we'll continue and see if someone seconds it. Kelly, for you, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you. I was also wondering if Scott Nishimoto, Councilmember Nishimoto, has had a chance to comment on this or has taken a stand on this. And I think one of the questions about this was how the administrative costs, and I'm wondering if the answer to that is it would pay for itself.
Okay, so
those two
Taylor, are you
questions.
are you still on this call? And if so, can you comment?
Hi, Morgan. Yes. Well, we're happy to discuss this, but I'm gonna have to talk to my boss first. But Kelly, do you mind dropping your contact information in the chat?
Yes, thank you. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
And I think
welcome.
Ross, the
Thank
other
you.
question is probably more for you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for your question. As far as the administrative costs are concerned, that really depends on the level that the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services will choose to try to administer and enforce this bill. One thought is that the initial enforcement, the initial implementation will rely on self-declarations. That is very similar to what we do for the existing owner occupancy exemption for homeowners. That is similar to what we currently do for existing construction permit exemptions right now. We rely on self-declarations, and then there's minimal effort right now, based on our understanding, based on Director Andy Cuano's statements in front of the City Council, there's quite minimal cost go into enforcement and auditing. So we think that Bill 46 would very much be the same. And we also do believe that any revenue generated would help offset or actually cover completely and more any administrative costs. But just to be clear, I'm not part of the city. I'm not part of the City Council. I'm just an individual.
All right, Michelle.
Hi, thanks. You actually answered one of my questions, which was about how it's determined, the vacancy is determined. And my second question, and you might have mentioned it and I didn't hear, is how is vacancy defined? Like, is it a certain number of days or?
Yeah, and the devil is going to be in the details here, but at a high level, 6 months. If a Hawaii resident or if someone who considers Hawaii or Oahu their home is living in it for 6 months, it would be occupied. If it's vacant for more than 6 months, then there would start being some questions. Now, there's a lot of exemptions in the bill. I just want to be clear to mitigate any unintended harms. There's about 16 or so different exemptions because definitely there could be a very valid case if someone is in the hospital, for example, if someone's on active duty for more than 6 months, that would be exempt. But I'll just give the short answer: 6 months is the general cutoff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I propose that we study again this resolution that you want us to vote, and we don't vote tonight.
Okay, I think I'm going to first honor the motion that Addendum made and see if anyone seconds that before we follow the other one. Does anyone second that?
I second the vote.
All right, Laura, or sorry, Ian, I didn't mean to ignore you.
Sure. Sorry, I thought you cut off conversation there for a second. I actually wanted to share that there was a study. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Chair Lee. So UHERO, which does economic research for the University of Hawaii, put out a study in November, which I think answers a lot of the questions. So I'll run through some of the findings really briefly. So it's largely modeled on the Vancouver empty home tax, is my understanding. And so we actually have a pretty good comparison. In Vancouver, there was a 54% decrease in what they defined as vacant homes. Based on the definition of the bill, which may have changed a little since November, it would represent about 7% vacancy in Honolulu, excluding things like homes for sale and being renovated. So the sort of right down median line for what this might affect is it might bring about 14,000 homes onto the market for rental, and in its third year of implementation, maybe bringing $300 million additional dollars for the city and county, which would be about 9% of the current operating budget. Now, of course, things can change. So they put a pretty wide potential discrepancy of between 4,000 and 20,000 homes and between $50 million and $400 million as the sort of range here. And kind of to put that into conceptualization, we only build about 2,500 new homes on island every year. So even on the low end estimate, this would represent multiple years worth of new homes on the market. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell me what percentage of this vacant home are for foreign investor and high-end housing, and what is the percentage of a local resident family that have an income, let's say middle?
So
what is the percentage?
So Chair, I'm once again reminded of the importance of introducing yourself when you first speak. Ian Ross, a member of the McKeeke Neighborhood Board that passed this. I'm not the one who did the study. That would be Justin Tyndall. So I don't have all the numbers based on what the number would be like luxury homes, foreign investors versus local owners. Real basically, though, what I do know is, the majority of homes, even though it doesn't feel like it a lot of the time, are built more towards the median market, and the majority of empty homes are owned by local
Because
residents.
in a way, it makes me smile that first the city allowed to build this luxury home. And then now it want to tax them is a little bit contradictory, but that's beyond the point. The point is that we don't really, to be prepared, to be conscientious about signing this, we have to know how much, of course, I'm in favor of solving the housing problem, absolutely. But we need to know more information again about what are the luxury houses that are in foreign investor or of vacation homes, that are occupied a few months out of the year. And what is the real situation of the resident that maybe have saved of their life to have an extra home for the children and grandchildren? Thank you.
Chair, I'll just ask, I'll just email you the study after this meeting, perhaps.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the additional commentary. Was there anyone else from the community that wanted to speak? Allison?
Hi, Allison Peterson. Let me just ask a question first. So the 6 months vacancy, does that mean that does that not include like visits? You have to be a resident in there? That has to be like where you would be having your, what do you call?
Paying taxes?
Exemption.
Ross, are you back?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Great question. So the way the bill is currently written is that the 6 months would require that individual to declare Oahu as their primary residence. That's the way the bill is currently written right now. So short-term visitors would not qualify right now the way the bill is written. But just to be clear, right now, it's very possible that the bill could go back to committee. The Chair Waters could push the bill back to Budget Committee to clean up some of the exemptions. Right now, what we're working with is just purely a concept of saying, hey, look, high level, if someone doesn't live here, if someone doesn't consider Hawaii or Oahu to be their home, and that home is otherwise vacant, then let's look at this closer and consider taxing it, because that doesn't contribute to the housing stock. I just want to make one thing clear, by the way. Right now, the way the bill is written, if a Hawaii resident has one additional unit, that would be exempt right now. It's really the investors that have 2, 3, 4 additional units that this bill would be going after, or additionally people from outside of Hawaii. So just wanted to make that clear.
So, okay. So let me just reiterate what I thought you said, that a resident can have an extra home and not be subject to that tax?
Correct. One extra home. The way the current draft bill is written, a Hawaii resident or an Oahu resident who has a current homeowner's exemption on their primary residence can own one additional home and be exempted from that. Now, if they own 2 excess homes, then that second excess home might be subject to the tax.
Okay, great. That I wasn't aware of that. That's not something that has been brought up before, I think.
Thanks, Allison.
It's very into the weed. Thank you for your question.
Chris?
I don't on the surface level, I don't see the real difference between if it's a luxury home or a low income home, or if it's someone that's saved up for their grandkids to have it. Because if their grandkids could have it, they should be living in it. This is all about just overall bringing market prices down and adding people to it, getting
Right.
people in houses that are empty.
Paul, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, that we should be selling houses to people that live here, not people that are from the mainland that don't live here. You know, so that's, it might help housing.
All right, I'm going to take Louis and Michelle, and then we're going to vote. Go ahead, Louis.
Hey, thank you guys. Aloha. Hi, Ian. I am in support of this, but there's going to be a lot of loopholes, and one of them, my concern, and you mentioned it, was the Airbnbs, right? So that you can get around it. So you mentioned that, and you made it clear. But is there a way in the bill that you can incentivize rentals to locals, as an added, I don't know, part of the bill, to where if you decide to leave it open and you do decide to rent it to someone, hopefully a local person, it'll be incentivized on your property taxes? I just wanted to mention that.
Ross? Ross, if you're there and you want to respond, that would be great. Sorry, Louis. Go ahead, Michelle, and Ross, if you do want to jump in after Michelle's question, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm having trouble with my phone getting off mute. No, just to answer the question, great question. For any home that is rented on a long-term basis, that's 6 months more, to a Hawaii resident, they would be exempted from this tax. Now, I do want to add, it's outside the scope of Bill 46, but my understanding is Chair Waters and the council are proposing a litany, a group of different real property tax bills. And one of those is targeting, my understanding, I'm not an expert on this one, but it is targeting an additional real property tax break for properties that are put to long-term rental status. So they're considering a lot of different things. This is just one of many.
All right, go, Michelle.
Yes, I'm just still trying to understand how the homes are identified, the vacant homes. So anyone who owns property here but is not a resident of Hawaii would have to then self-declare, or who has to fill out that declaration?
And to answer that, it would start with self-declarations by the property owner. Any property owner would be sent a self-declaration form.
Oh, okay, I see. So all property owners will have this, and if they fail to complete the declaration, what would be the result?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And there's going to be, and this is why, even if this bill passes, there's going to be a very long build-up period, education-wise, up through June 2027, before this is even effective. But in any given year, if a property owner forgets, like a lot of owners do for their owner occupancy exemptions, there would be a mechanism to go back to the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services and effectively try to get released from that if they miss their self-declaration.
All right, Ross, thank you for making yourself available for this. We are going to take this to a vote as we have another resolution to get to this evening. Just a reminder, if you are virtual, please turn on your camera when you are voting. And Curtis, you can go ahead.
Voting on the resolution to support an empty homes tax. Aldana.
Aye.
Aye. Barber.
Aye.
Aye. Devaye.
Aye.
Aye. Caldera.
Aye.
Aye. Hulls. Aye. Aye. Kachuk.
Aye.
Aye. Kim. Absent. Lee.
Aye.
Aye. Minerby. Abstain. Quadri. Absent. Robati.
Aye.
Aye. Salas.
Aye.
Aye. Young.
Aye.
Aye. On a vote of 10 ayes, 0 noes, and 1 abstention, the resolution has been adopted.
All right, thank you, Ross, for joining us and educating us about this resolution. And let us talk about the next resolution right now, which is about the Makiki stream. So my name is listed on here for introducing this resolution, but Ian and Betsy are both here as well, who have worked on it as well. So I would like to give it the floor to them to talk a little bit about it, and then wait, I think we have to discuss first. Hold on. Go ahead, and then we'll, after you guys talk, then we will make a motion if we're going to discuss it.
All right, thank you very much, Chair Lee, members of the board, especially also Member Rabadi. I know this has been a long time coming, and so I appreciate the Chair, Member Rabadi, for putting in some work to make sure this resolution is heard tonight. As one of Paul's neighbors, I have to completely agree about the state of homelessness in the area, and a lot of it does center around the Makiki stream. Last fall, the Makiki Neighborhood Board, of which I'm a member, adopted a almost identical resolution. Makiki stream runs from the mountain through Makiki Neighborhood Board's areas into your neighborhood board area, mostly by way of Kalakaua Avenue. And we've already talked about that a bit this evening, so I won't beleaguer the point too much, but this resolution really attempts to tackle some of the issues of pollution, environmental damage, blockage of flood areas, and this really goes hand in hand with less enforcement, a lot of out of sight, out of mind treatment for large amounts of homeless population right there on Kalakaua Avenue by the intersection, but also up a little further in the stream of Makiki. Out of sight, out of mind doesn't mean that the problem is solved. So this resolution calls for a number of things. One, move and install and make sure there's very prominent no trespassing signs along the stream and increase enforcements of these. More frequent cleanups, water quality testing with public available data, increased health enforcement, and most critically, more outreach related to services and housing to the populations there. This is a really terrible place to allow for really large and homeless encampments. Every time there is, potential for flooding, we've been seeing across the island emergency services having to start by pulling people out of these streams. We also know that in multiple cases, after quite a bit of time's passed, deceased bodies have been found in these streams before. And we really want to make sure that we're doing a better job related to these areas. As we've seen, residents are taking action, residents up and down the stream. Most of all, Betsy have been putting some effort. Betsy in particular called our city council members, our state representatives, and on July 25th, she helped lead half a dozen garbage trucks, not bags, trucks to take out a lot of garbage in that area. And also it spurred a bomb squad ordinance enforcement for suspected ordinance in that stream. We shouldn't be waiting this long between actions. We shouldn't rely on residents like Betsy to spend 20 plus hours a week tracking this down. We should start putting in better policies. I will say that, with this momentum on this, Representative Mike Lee, who represents Kailua, thought this was a really good idea. And he's actually represented a resolution that would create a task force based on this resolution, looking at bringing together stakeholders for the state government and the county to identify how to accomplish these things. So, I'm happy to share that if you were to pass this resolution, you'd be helping to add momentum to some actual action. And as a neighborhood board member myself, I know that's not always the case with resolutions, but I'm happy to share it would be one like this. So I ask you to vote in support. Thank you very much.
Eon basically said, my name is Betsy Kawamura, and Eon basically said most of what I wanted to say, but I just have to repeat to you that I moved into the neighborhood about two years and 3 months ago, and I really started to notice that I use a bus all the time. So, because there were so many homeless on the intersection until like last, July, it was basically impossible for bus riders to use the number 1, the number 2 buses. Part of the reason why I think what Eon said is so important is that by the resolution encouraging much more often policing, monitoring, and, as much as possible to embrace the homeless so they can, assist the care they need, it also highlights the areas close to where Paul Rabadi lives and the area closest to where I live by Kalakaua, by Palama Market. And it actually embraces the issues of the shopping carts, which has again been thrown into the Makiki stream. So by passing this resolution, it highlights the shopping cart issues, the issues of trying to keep the bus stops, much more usable for passengers like us, and then to really monitor and to police the area to keep it clean and free from the homeless that tend to still want to live inside the stream, believe it or not. And we saw 2 suitcases last weekend. We had to call HPD several times because there was like a sofa bed, absolute sofa bed, and a full-on mattress right at the intersection. So by passing this, we basically create a lot of attention around the area. So I really hope that this will create a catalyst momentum composed of constituents like us. And when he also managed to talk about the task force, I hope he will embrace in this task force voices of constituents like myself. Thank you.
All right, so does someone motion on the board for us to discuss this resolution? All right, I will motion to discuss it.
Second.
All seconds. All right, do we have any questions for the folks that introduced this resolution? Paul?
No questions. It's what we all see. I mean, it's not that it's hidden. Everybody drives past it. You see it. And the unfortunate part is it's the houseless problem. I don't know how we're going to take care of that. We can sit up here all day and go, we got to change this. We got to figure out what we can do to alleviate this problem. Anyhow, that's okay. That's
okay. Go ahead, Edith.
I unfortunately or fortunately disagree with the approach of the resolution. I feel like we're kicking the can to law enforcement when the issue of keeping our waters clean should be everyone's kuleana. And I don't feel like policing and stigmatizing a vulnerable population should be the approach that I want for my community and making my community better. The houseless are still part of our community. And listen, I'm not trying to say that I'm okay with the rubbish. I'm definitely not okay with the rubbish, but I would much rather support a resolution that creates a task force for our community so we can plan strategically on how all of us can help better maintain the waterways. This discussion of taking care of our water is not a new discussion. There are people that are much more intelligent than I who have done it for much longer. The Protect the Alawai Watershed, for example, is a group. Out of Iolani School, they have their stream project called Navai Ekolu, I believe. It just really hurts my heart that it's written in a way that is very policing and stigmatizing. And so for those reasons, I don't agree with how it is written, but I'm glad to be able to have this conversation and potentially propose amendments.
Yes, do you want to go ahead and propose your amendments to this?
I'm not ready. Can someone else
All right.
take the mic?
Yes, we can give it, and then if you want to, we can circle back to you. Go ahead, Ian, and then go ahead, Laura.
Sure. Your points are well taken. This might not be the end all be all. And if you wanted to add additional actions, I made it a section to make it very easy to subtract or add things, but also add one amendment of my own. I noticed on the resolution, it mentions Mizuno, but Mizuno, of course, left. So if you do make amendments, I might recommend also adding Jun Yang's name instead of John Mizuno's. Thank you.
Thank you for catching that. Are you able to change that, Curtis? I'll motion to amend that part. Anyone second?
I second.
Okay. Go ahead. Betsy, did you have something you want to say?
Thank you very much for your intervention. I appreciate that. I wanted to also point out that I myself was homeless. I myself was homeless. I went through sexual assault as a child. So as an adult in my 30s, I was absolutely homeless, had nowhere to go. So, from my own experience of being homeless, that's the reason why I'm very active about this. And when I see these people on the streets, perhaps, we are open to amendments, but the key issue is to try to get some kind of catalytic action going so that it becomes like a catalytic action that can build so that, and because of the fact that I am open about the fact that I was homeless before, I have open discussions with HPD on this and various other people that was on Calvin Say's office who catalyzed this. So, perhaps, if you wish that we could add more, wordage to trying to actively embrace those who are homeless. That's why I kept using the word embrace. Perhaps that one word could be used in the resolution, but I wanted to remind you that, I'm probably one of the very few who would admit to have been homeless for nearly 2 years before. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Okay, thank you, Laura Ribby. I just want to say, what is the perimeter of what the area is that wholly city and county? That's one first thing. Second of all, have you asked the city and county to put up fencing at the Kalakaua King intersection area? It might be a U shape, that goes around either side of that area to reduce the throwing things in the stream. Third of all, as the one of the co-coordinator for the Mōʻiliʻili Japanese Cemetery, we have remnant parcel. That's what they're called. That's a city and county, and that's probably what you have right now that you're dealing with is a remnant parcel. And we asked for permission to kuleana it, and I went down to City Hall somewhere and filled out a paper. Maybe I paid some money, I don't know. But we agreed that we would keep that place nice. Now, what happened is we put in some raised, some beds, vegetable beds. And at first it was a little slow going. We got some people to join in, neighbors. And now we have a whole community of people that are there taking care of it. And that makes all the difference, I think. The other thing was mentioned earlier, of course, is put those shopping cart stops on the shopping cart so they can't get out of the parking lot. But find out the kuleana, you can go out. And on the other thing is, I call up the bulk pickup people all the time.
30 seconds.
And they come in within about a week. They come in and clear out all the bulk pickup stuff. So they know me by name, I guess now. So somebody just needs to take care of that and do that. And that will get rid of all the bulk pickup stuff, the sofas and all that stuff. Okay, thanks.
All right, Ian or Betsy, did you want to answer Laura's questions? Can you come to the mic?
Agree with what she just said, because part of the resolution, what we wanted to do is encourage a community action. Basically, it's between Ian, myself, and a few other people who keep on calling about the rubbish and everything piling up. But if we can make this maybe a task force, other people to also call HPD or, facilities of, what is it called? Department maintenance? The Department of Facilities Maintenance. So that's the route we can take. So I want to be able to have other people who care just as much as we do about keeping that area clean to volunteer to call HPD or the appropriate actions or to call Scott Nishimoto and Taylor about this. So maybe, her suggestion could be do a riser around that area. I don't know. And then another issue we have, I think part of, something that Ian and I and Ikaika Olds have discussed is about the bus stop seating as well. So the seating design and then placing the rubbish bins and the signs can also be discussed as part of this resolution. So I hope that we can, embrace a positive way forward. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Kate. And do you mind introducing yourself?
Kate Payne, Neighborhood Watch, Coolidge Street. Cora was here maybe 4 months ago, 3 months ago. They gave us some numbers that are very troubling. And that's how many people are given a one-way ticket from all over the US to come here. And with AI now, there's no reason why we can't stop people on that end from coming here. If we don't do this, this issue will never, ever be resolved. That's my point.
All right, Adendra, should we go back to you?
Please forgive me. I am, if you all are open to it, I'm committed to drafting properly with more time, some amendments, and I would email the chair and follow the protocols to ask for it to be put on the agenda next month, if that would be all right. Because while I pride myself on being a good writer, I'm not that good. I can't do it in 30 seconds.
All right, did you want to make a motion then to edit it and postpone it to?
I make a motion to edit and postpone until next month for more discussion.
I second.
Okay. All right, we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Thank you, Betsy and Ian.
Okay. All right, we are going to 7 minutes.
Are you
Is
not
anyone
asking the community?
Sorry, Joanne, we're going to be moving on. We'll discuss it again in the next in our next meeting. All right, so
Unbelievable.
hear
You're
from Governor
unbelievable.
Green's office. Curtis, do you know? All right, we do not have Brooks here. I know that no one from UH is here either. I know Senator Ihara is here. So we have very limited amount of time. FYI, 3 minutes.
I can just answer questions if you like.
If you want to, if you have a 90-second spiel.
The Senate and the House passed over probably about 300 bills each, more than 300 bills each side. The Senate has, I'm on the referral committee. We referred all the committees, the bills to Senate committees. So you're going to start hear notices come out. And I've been working with the House and Senate leadership to have some collaboration, and we have a high spirit of collaboration. Now it's a matter of practicing it. So that's my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What are the bills that you have sponsored or introduced? You want to?
I don't do very many bills. I have a bill that was a civics. Actually, one of the bills is it's called, the title is, actually we're going to fund another vehicle, Aloha Spirit Law, Civics and Democracy. And in Hawaii, we anchor so we're like a values. Actually, I was talking to Carol. The 1978 Constitutional Convention, which we were both at, was the first, I call it the first values-based constitution, because we didn't have the big players coming in, bosses around. And I was wondering why it was so quiet. We could do our work. And so anyway, so the civics now is a public education program. The bill I have makes civics a governmental function. So it's not a public education function. And so we're going to be having a vehicle and we're going to amend it. That's our plan. The second is on housing. And it is a housing that, we have been spending a lot of money subsidizing affordable housing, which we ought to. The problem is that I call them bed warmers. We build the housing for 10 years or 15 years, and then it goes into open market, and then it's out of the reach for the local workforce. So I'm like, why are we doing this? And so there's a move on slowly, and we need to spread the word that we want to have. See, right now, the average price in Hawaii is $1 million. Unbelievable. Now, on Oahu, we have condos, which are half the price probably, but all the other islands, except the big island, it's $1 million. The local workforce average is about $95,000 per household. So it can only afford a $450,000 house when the market is $1 million. So the idea is to have a local market. But once you buy in, or you have get into affordable housing with some subsidies or zoning or whatever it is, and you agree to keep it in perpetuity for the workforce. You don't go out make your big splash and sell it to the open market and make a lot of money, which is not bad. I'm not putting that down. But I believe that in addition to that, we keep the open market, but grow the local workforce market. So that's the idea.
All right. Do we have any other questions for the senator? All right. Any questions? Other questions of the community members here? All right. Okay, Joanne, I'm going to give you 1 minute since we do not have a lot of time left. Just
Yeah,
FYI.
you're always cutting my time. I don't give a. Anyway, to Representative Ihara, can you do me a favor? I'm really a Trump supporter. I'm super Trump supporter, and I really like the way he's aggressively gets things done, which I don't feel like in this community we get anything done. And so I'm wanting to ask you, can you make stricter laws against the homeless who are breaking the law? I'm not asking you to criminalize homelessness, but I am asking you to criminalize their behavior.
30 seconds.
Anybody who behaves that way would be criminalized. As far as criminals too, we need harsher laws, especially towards children. So maybe in the legislature, instead of enabling all these people, if you make harsher laws, maybe we will have a better community where we can live in peace.
All right. Senator Fukunaga, you have
No answer?
6
No
minutes.
response?
He said thank you. He acknowledged your question. Sorry, he wasn't at the mic.
Sorry, I'm just going to pass out my report for tonight. We just passed our third reading deadlines, and our focus in the Consumer Protection Committee has really been on condo insurance issues and the rising costs and how we have not been able to bring them under control. But I know you're limited tonight, so I'm going to leave those with you. Please email me if you have additional questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may.
I'd love to hear from you too about the bills that you've introduced and sponsored. It sounds like it's condo stuff, but if there's anything else you wanted to highlight, or if you want to.
I also joined Senator Ihara on that housing bill, but many of the bills that we introduced this year had to do with condo reforms, where we're looking for ways that we can bring prices down, or if people in a condo association invest in ways to improve the stability and resiliency of their property, they should have reduced premium rates as a result of that. And part of what is very frustrating in Hawaii is most of the condo properties are covered by property insurers that are not really licensed to do business in Hawaii. These are mostly what they call surplus lines. And so the insurance division has very little control over what they do. So among some of the other measures that we have reviewed in the Senate include some additional bills to establish new consumer protection groups within the insurance division so that we can go after those insurers who are really causing the prices to rise exponentially, especially in a lot of the older buildings where you have many fixed income residents.
All right. Who on the board has questions for the senator?
You can email me them later because I know that condo insurance is really a very difficult, subject to go through in a Q&A session, but we really appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Is there anyone else?
You and Senator. Thank you guys for coming.
Okay, is there anyone else who has any questions? Thank you for sharing. All right. I guess we technically have 2 more minutes. Is there anyone else who is online as far as our senators and representatives go?
Hi, I'm here from Senator Moriwaki's office.
Awesome. Go ahead.
So just real quickly, we just wanted to let everyone know, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent town hall that was held on the 20th at Jefferson Elementary, along with Representative Tam. We also just wanted to provide some updates regarding federal funding. So state and local officials have been closely monitoring the directives of federal agencies regarding funding to the community, which may affect certain social services. While much is still unknown, we have SB 933, which has been drafted to step in if necessary to give state funds to critical support services in the event of a devastating loss to funding or such as. But if you have any questions, I can try to answer them now.
Any questions? Do you mind sharing your name with us for the record?
My name is Cody Rex. I'm her legislative aide for the session.
I wanted to just hear any more details that you can share about SB 933. How broad is it or narrow it is?
SB 933 is basically a blank bill, but in the event of any specific funding to a specific department or whatever that provides social services, we can provide amendments to that bill through emergency meetings, I believe, to add them in and then vote on them.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank both Representative Old's office and Rep. Tam's office. Unfortunately, we do not have. We do have time? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and Representative Old's office. Go ahead. An update.
Hi, sorry, just a quick update. We just wanted to give a quick update. Oh, I'm Jeanette. I'm his committee clerk. I just wanted to give a quick update along with our contact information that I dropped in the chat, just because with crossover happening, he would also love to hear back specifically from his constituents just about their opinions on the new SB bills coming over. Our committee referrals haven't happened yet, so we can't say for sure which ones we want to put forward to his community for us to pay attention to. I just did want to make sure everyone saw our contact information, and it's also available online.
Thank you so much for coming. Representative Tam?
Hi, this is Flora with Representative Tam's office. I dropped our newsletter in the
Can you
chat.
turn your camera on? Do you mind?
Sorry, I cannot. I have a few bill updates of interest for you. We've also proposed with Senator Milwaukee condo insurance stabilization, as well as programs that support homelessness. You may be interested in HB 613, which would expand access for youth shelters. Another bill you might be interested in is SB 1044, which relates to stabilization of property insurance. And then Representative Tam has also introduced a bill that would provide permanent funding for the Return to Home program, which is HB 212. And then another issue that often comes up is noise. So we've also introduced, Representative Tam has introduced some bills relating to specifically vehicular noise. And I can take any questions back to the representative.
Kelly, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking my question. I was wondering, Rep. Tam introduced HB 422, which will abolish school impact fees. So developers will not have to pay a fee for when they create developments that are going to increase the school population and impact schools. So I was wondering if he could walk back that bill and not support it because it is detrimental to public schools. Thank you.
I can take your message back to the representative. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions for Representative Tam? All right. As we have more time, are there any brief community concerns? Laura has one. Laura, can you make it 20 seconds? I'm being whispered that that's how much time we have.
Laura Ruby. This is something I've been wanting to say for a long time. It is shameful and highly objectionable that a proposed bridge over the Alawai Canal still carries the name Pono. Please, this is to the city and county, please ask your Hawaiian experts about the use of and subtlety of the term. It cannot be applied whole cloth to a non-existent entity. It is the term applied over time to something that has merit. Thank you.
All right. Any other community concerns? Thank you, Laura, for making that brief. All right, Kelly, you have one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to lower my hand. Thank you. No, I don't.
Okay. Any board announcements? Can you go?
I would like to prepare, whether in the next board meeting or in 2 meetings, a questionnaire for with the approval of the board to send to the resident of the Mōʻiliʻili neighborhood with the issue that are more pressing to them, prioritizing a very short questionnaire with 4, 5, 6 lines, multiple choice, and allow them to express what are their priorities. And because tonight was actually an excellent board meeting, but sometimes we have individual that comes with individual problems, which are absolutely important. That's why we're here. But if we know as the whole community what the community believe is the number 1 and the number 2 and the number 3 and the number 4, I think we could be more efficient and communicate to our councilmen and representative and senator what the needs of the community are. Thank you.
Great. We'll look for that next month. All right, everyone. Just a reminder, we are meeting next month at 6 p.m. p.m. So I will see you all there, and the meeting is adjourned, and I'm going to bang the water bottle.